Hi guys, this is Bob, and today I'm going to talk to you about the final for listening, the rubric that I'll be using to grade your assignment. This is pretty much done, but if there's any changes, I will let you know. I'm going to go through it quickly. You can find the rubric. I'll probably post it on the Microsoft Teams chat, but I'll also it'll be on Canvas at the very bottom where you find the finals instruction. Probably should label that better. Let's do that now. Let me show you the magic of this. I'm going to change this docu-series documentary, right? Let me just edit this. You get to see the little magic of what's happening. Instructions. There we go. Okay. So down here you can see the rubric, and I'll publish that as soon as this is over. But yeah, right now you should have been researching your topic that you want to talk about, finding videos, documentaries, docu-series on Netflix, on YouTube, on anywhere on the internet that you can find a documentary. That documentary should not be a nature documentary, and it shouldn't be anything historical, as in all they talk about is the history of something. Because I find that you're going to have a really difficult time taking notes and then probably talking and discussing that topic as well. Excuse me. Okay, so here's the rubric. There's just a little bit more details than before. You can actually open up the PDF, save it, so you have a record of this fine thing. But we'll just look at it through Canvas for now. Grading rubric for fall 2020-2021. There's just going to be a little bit more emphasis on different parts. I gotta re-edit this. We'll see. The title again is worth 2 points. Cues are worth a little bit more. I want to make sure that you don't put your cues as the headings, which we'll be talking about later, but that there should be enough cues. So not too many, right? You don't want everything just filled up. You'll never find this information later. Cues, remember, are used to find information quickly, stuff that you think is important. Facts, any main ideas, things like that. And you don't have to write full sentences, okay? You can just write a keyword and a question mark, and don't write all the keywords, because then none of them are key. They just all become words. And make sure that they correspond, they align from the left cue to the right, okay? And how you should do the cues, you should do the cues last, okay? Or if you're like stopping and thinking while the video is going on and something you're not going to be writing about, maybe fill in the cues. But the cues should pretty much be done last as a way to kind of look over your notes, review them, and then see what's important, right? Your notes should be easy to read, but they should be shortened, okay? So I don't want to see any full sentences being used, like as if you were writing verbatim notes, which, because you get to pause these videos, you might have the tendency to do that, but try to practice kind of going through it quickly in sections, pausing it to catch up, kind of like a speaker would take a break to answer a question or something like that. But, it's going to take you a lot of time if you pause every 5 seconds or something like that. And my advice is, if you're on a computer, use something like VLC. Change the hotkey for short backwards. So I have it so when I press my left button left arrow, it just goes back like a second or two, so I can see what they said, and I'll just kind of keep going back. If you use something on your computer or your smartphone, VLC also has an ability to kind of scrub back quickly, or just a swipe to go back. So figure out the tools that work for you. This is not something I want to focus a lot of attention on, but as a digital learner, as a digital native, you should be comfortable with the technology that you have and how to get these tasks done. So choose something. I like VLC because it allows you to change the speed as well. So if you want to kind of slow down a narrator or speaker that speaks too fast, you can change it. And I recommend, if something's too quick, change it to 0.85. It's natural still, but it slows down like quick speakers. I listen to all my podcasts at 1.25 speed so that every hour becomes 45 minutes. It's wonderful. It's like making time. Visuals will be just a little bit more important, but make sure there's some kind of a drawing. And remember, visuals, should be kind of done after you've taken all the notes, unless you're good, unless you're really quick at this. But what I find about visuals is that it helps you remember because you make an association with that memory with kind of something interesting. And sometimes those visuals, I might not understand them. They might be like an inside joke for you. It might be something similar to a meme. Who knows? Organization will be a little bit more important, as this time I want you to make sure that your titles and headings are still inside your notes themselves. So remember, the notes should be able to exist on their own, that they're not just like the cues become the headers for your notes. That's not the way that the notes were designed to be used. And I found that when I was reading students that had notes like that, it was actually harder for me to understand the notes because I wanted to see everything kind of hierarchical from, up to down in a chronological order of the video. But if the notes were on the left, if the cues and the headings were on the left, that's just the headings, then it kind of confused me. So think about that and make sure that you're writing your notes as if they're not Cornell notes, like you're just taking regular notes. And I do recommend using this outlining technique where you Roman numeral. You don't have to do Roman numerals, but you can indent over. And that way, if you look at it again, you'll see where the details are and you'll know where the main ideas are, the topics, the subtopics, and all of that. So get better at that for some of you. And others of you, some of you, a few of you are like really good at doing outlines already. To continue to develop that, I thought I updated this file. Wait for it. Nope. So yeah, it's not a TED Talk, it's a documentary. Okay, guys. And so what would I say now? What would I say? The summary, same importance. So the summary should only be on your last page, so don't write a summary for the first page, the second page. In the template that I gave you, the first page does not have the summary. The second page has it. So you need to do 2 pages. Could just be like a page and a half is fine. But make sure that you have ample information because you're going to be writing at least 30 minutes worth of notes. And I think even the explained, even though they're 15 to 20 minutes sometimes, they have a lot of information. So, taking the notes is helping you prepare for the speaking part. Okay, that's how I envisioned these 2 assignments. Now, what you do in the listening class helps you to understand this information better, and not just understand it better, but to almost be able to quote some of it. You've watched this video so many times, probably by now, that you've become, a bit of an expert on the topic, right? That's what the kind of research you need to do. That's what these podcasts, YouTube people, if you listen to how they create things, there's always a lot of research that's put into these articles. Okay. All right. So we have features of speech similar to how you did this for the TED Talks, except now you're doing it once for your opener and then for your closer. And instead of listening to somebody, you're coming up with these on your own. Okay, so all the same rules apply. Word stress. And some of you didn't put word stress on all multi-syllable words, so you got to do that. Okay, so if the word is multi-syllable, as in more than one syllable, you're going to use this feature. This convention called, where we capitalize just the stressed word. Okay, and most of you guys are starting to get really good at this. Thought groups is probably going to be the hardest ones for you. Make sure that you figure out where these thought groups should go based on how you want to deliver your speech, right? So remember, thought groups are sometimes broken up by punctuation, by periods, commas, naturally. And then other times they're broken up by, prepositional phrases, right? So phrases kind of start to break up these things. Having that, seeing that as a relative pronoun. seeing other prepositions, right? Because usually we slow down on these things, like in the morning, I went to blah, 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 right? And then other times they're done based on the way you want to deliver the speech. If you want to really slow down a speech, then you'll say just one word at a time, okay? And it gives a special emphasis on what I'm talking about. I'm making you listen because I'm really slowing that down. So your thought groups should show that, right? And remember, thought groups are all on one line. Each thought group is on its own line. Focus word, there's one focus word for every thought group, right? So each thought group, even if it's just one word thought group, that's the focus word, okay? So make sure you underline that. And yeah, I think this will be mostly accurate since you're the one that's going to be speaking this part. And I'll be checking your listening and your speaking together to kind of make sure that those things are okay. Intonation tends to be pretty easy. I think the only times that I didn't hear a lot of rising tones. I think there was like a few only. But yeah, usually, right, questions like that aren't asked during a speech, maybe in the middle of the speech when you're kind of talking more. But yeah, this is the opener. And then, yeah, the last thing you want to do is the color vowel part, where you take the color vowels and then you only have to do it for the focus word, right? So you determine your focus word, and then you do the color vowel for the focus word, but the stressed syllable in that focus word. So not the whole thing, obviously. I don't want you to do the color vowel for each syllable. It's just the word stress. It's the stress syllable that gets the color vowel. And so, yeah, if you don't understand that, then I would say go to youglish.com to listen to pronunciation of it. Youglish, kind of like English, but it uses YouTube to kind of find words that match your search. So if you don't know how to pronounce progress, because you keep saying progress, and it should be progress. So listen to it. If it's a word that's hard to pronounce, maybe like a word like conformity, listen to it, and so you get that practice. Okay. So if you're not clear about the pronunciation of word, use youglish.com. Go to that website, check it out. I think it's pretty cool. I should have taught that to you guys maybe the first day of the class. And then, yeah, the last thing would just be more subjective on my part, where I kind of evaluate whether or not your speech was effective based on the way that you did these features of speech assignment, right? So was it effective at delivering the message based on the features of the speech? And then does it accurately measure the tone of the speech? So if you're trying to be happy and funny, are your thought groups longer? If you're trying to be dramatic, sad, are you slowing these things down? So within that, are you delivering an effective message based on the point you're trying to make, based on these features of speech? Okay, and this, I think, will be good practice for all of you. The next part will be the closer. So the closer is right here. Same thing as above. So you'll be basically doing this features of speech things twice. So if you're not good at this, if you didn't do well in the midterm, ask for help. Look through all the materials for, this features of speech. And basically, all of the materials from class kind of lead up to this last assignment, right? Except for consonants. We're not going to be talking about consonants. And then the last thing is there's 3 questions or 2 questions you're going to answer. And one of them is going to be to explain the features of speech. And then I changed this. So if you looked at the listening before, I want you to use one of your examples from your speech to talk about the features of speech, right? So when you talk about thought groups, you can mention that you use this thought group in a certain way to kind of emphasize this, or you use the focus words at some point to emphasize the contrast between hot and cold or something, okay? And then finally, last thing is I want you to give some important things, tell me some important things that you learned in the class, maybe something you didn't know before, and something that has helped you to kind of understand how pronunciation works and the importance of it in communication. So I guess this will be my final message, but thank you so much for being in my class, for your hard work, your efforts, for learning, being receptive, getting to know each other in the class, and then, sharing about yourself to me. This class has been probably the more difficult class for me to develop. It's not something that I really trained myself in before. So my second year doing this, and it's a little bit different because I can't actually test you on your listening skills so much. But, learning Cornell notes, I think, is a way to do listening comprehension, whether or not you understand this. If you're testing yourself accurately, then, watching a video and being able to talk about that video and explaining it and writing about it, I think is a very important aspect of academic English. And I think the other part is how you connect your listening abilities to your speaking, right? So they're not separate skills. They're almost hand in hand. And hopefully the way that I've created these two classes have helped you to kind of put together these things. And in the final, really focus on these speeches, because that's one way that I learned Japanese when I was living in Japan, was really just focusing on how to say things in a accurate and effective way, right? If this was a one-on-one class, then I would be able to give you a lot more feedback and kind of make you drill through this, but it's not. And so, you're going to have to watch your video, maybe just record a quick version where you make mistakes for the speaking class. Now I'm like talking about both, but listen to it, right? Listen to it and make sure that what you wrote down was accurate. Make sure that it's effective. If you're having troubles pronouncing a word, change the word. Choose another word that has a similar meaning. Shorten it, make it longer. Whatever you need to do to make your opener and your closer effective. But yeah, thank you. So we're about 17 minutes in. I'll upload this video, and good luck with everything. If you have any more questions, please feel free to ask. I will not be checking anybody's Cornell notes. So you can ask each other after you write your notes. You can have your friend read it. My test is if somebody can read it and understand the video who hasn't watched the video. If they can understand your notes, wow, good job, But yeah, take your time, but don't take too much time. Turn it in as soon as you can so I can grade these, because you have to finish this part in order to do the speaking part, right? All right, good luck. Thank you so much. Have a great finals, and then have a great break, and see you again. Bye.